Hello and welcome to Twin Flame on the DivineLove path. I have been thinking about twin flame coaches and what I've encountered over the past couple of years. Have you ever noticed that there are themes within the different coaches? I.e., some of them will be talking about detoxing, or some of them will be talking about celibacy. Some of, the focus is there, and then is it my imagination, or do some of them just seem to be repeating each other? I'm sure that you've noticed this, as I have. What do you feel about that? Does this come from a place of authenticity? I bring this up because for me it reflects on my connection to God. I bring to her my states of being that are not when I'm vibrating in love. Those states of either confusion or whatever I may be going through. And actually, even when I am love, I say a prayer to God for His love. I always want to be filling myself up with His love. And He knows what my questions are. And of course, I communicate those. I have had many, many questions on this journey. And yes, sometimes the answer, of course, will come through someone else. But I wish that there was more authenticity in the twin flame community. And for me, that would look like citing your sources and talking about who you've worked with and having credibility so that people can see what your foundation is. Because sometimes it feels like someone has just watched another channel that I've actually watched myself, and they're using, they're just repeating. They're repeating the exact same thing. And what this does is it sort of reminds me of the New Age. I was around and heavily influenced by New Age thinking, and I was swept up in that whole movement. And one day it dawned on me that the New Age was nothing more than marketing, and I was being marketed to. There's a lot of actually destructive thoughts in New Age thinking that are not loving and do not help us ascend. So I just find more and more value of going to God directly. How could you ever become a master creator and grow in love if you are just repeating what someone else has said? Don't you want to feel the authenticity of your own soul? And it doesn't need to be something that's expensive, that you find out all of the ways of the twin flame journey. And anyway, I I don't want to put these people down because they are very, very loving and they are putting themselves out there to help people. But that doesn't mean that we don't pose these questions and challenges in order to grow within our own community, in order to ask these really important questions, because we are the only one ascending, we are the only person that is truly on this journey. And if we're a twin flame, we will never come into true soul union unless we progress in love with God's love on this path. It is an impossibility. So I just come to you as your sister, as God's child, and commend you for all of the times that you think for yourself and you feel for yourself. And you see that in your vulnerability is the strength that God gave you. So I stopped for a few moments and thought about what I just communicated. And as I often do, and I'm so grateful for this, I will think about what I learned from AJ and the DivineTruth teachings, because I'm constantly undoing my old way of thinking. I'm constantly searching for, am I in truth? Am I in love? Or am I in error? If you're not in truth or you're in love, then we call it on the divine love path being in error, because obviously there's an error in how you are thinking. So while this feels a little bit difficult for me because I fear judgment a little bit, the twin flame community is quote unquote supposed to be so loving. And when you're a twin flame and you get to a certain point, you're supposed to be, so loving and non-judgmental. So how do you reconcile that with the truth? And one of God's primary attributes is truth and love, of course. So in reflecting on what I just said, that everybody in the twin flame community that is copying each other, if they are copying each other, that they are actually loving people, I realized that there's an error in my thinking. To purely just copy somebody else without citing them, is that an error by admission? That you're acting like this is your information that came to you? I don't want to be too caught up in what other people are doing. My main reason for bringing this out is that it is more important to establish your own connection with God and bringing your emotions and your questions to her and asking for her divine love, because that is the very thing that is going to bring you into healing so quickly. And it did for me. I mean, it's really been astounding. So if we have more authenticity in the community, what would that look like? It would look like I'm citing my sources and I am staying in my truth of where this information is coming from, because that is so important. There are twin flame coaches out there that don't even tell you where they're at. Are you in separation? What is going on in your own union? I'm not sure anyone can tell me about something that they have not experienced themselves. Sorry, I don't think, especially with this union, I don't think it works like that. And even if you are in union, I look at, are you on the natural love path or the divine love path? Because if you listen to the first couple podcasts, you will learn that if you are on the natural love path, which is purely self-reliant, where you believe you are God or you're becoming God, you will never come into full soul union with your twin flame. You will never obviously come into at one-ment with God because you believe you are God. So it is an entirely different path that becomes more intellectual. And, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, again, listen to the first few videos or podcasts. So I encourage people to start being more truthful and authentic, regardless of which path you're on. If you believe in this information, share where it came from. I think everybody deserves that, including you. If you channeled it, fine. But we'll talk more in the future, even with channeling. Channeling, you can only talk to spirits as far as you have grown in love. So just like on earth, there's many spirits that can be telling you things that, yeah, that's how they think about it, but it doesn't really mean that's God's truth. So I will end here with this discussion, and I would love to know if you're in agreement and you can see how this is important in our community.